I'm on track to hit $1 million in sales this year without a $10,000 program.
What's going on, guys? On today's episode, we brought Abigail onto the show. You might recognize her from TikTok or Instagram, but Abigail has been in the UGC space for over 6 years, but recently she shifted all of her focus onto selling digital products. And this year, she's on pace to do over $1 million in sales. And the crazy part is she's doing it basically just by herself with no team. In this episode, we go deep into her content strategy and her digital product sales strategies. We also cover why she abandoned almost all other platforms and decided to go all in on Instagram and the exact strategies that are working today. This is one of my favorite episodes so far, and I'm sure you guys are going to love it too. Abigail, what is going on? Super excited to dive in and to talk to you today. How are you doing?
I am doing good. How are you doing?
I am doing very, very well. Wanted to start this off by just kind of learning a little bit more about your journey. So you started out in UGC. Now you've kind of made this transition to digital products, and I know you're pretty open about like your financial numbers and everything. I constantly see on your Instagram you're posting like, "Hey, had a $2,000 day, a $3,000 day, $60,000 months." I just want to really understand, like, what was that process like for you, right? Over the past couple of years, this journey that you've been on to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So it actually all started last summer. So summer of 2022. Earlier that year in the spring, my husband had some health issues. He had a few strokes, and it kind of turned our life upside down. And it was wild. We had so many medical bills to pay. We moved to a new state to be near family to help with my daughter. And I kind of had this moment of like, okay, I need to do something with my business. I've been a freelancer for years. I've done so many different things. I've been doing UGC for 6 years now. I've been a floral designer. I've been a photographer. Like, I've just done it all. So I was like, I know I can build a community. And I chose to kind of start with UGC. It's so funny. I actually had a call with someone who is now like a peer and a good friend, and like I'm in her membership. And she told me, she's like, "Oh my God, like what you do is UGC." And like, I had never called it that. Like UGC, this like terminology of being a UGC creator was like very new last summer. And she was like, "You need to get on TikTok." And I kept telling her, "No, I'm too old for TikTok." Like I had never been on TikTok before. And so in June, I started a TikTok kind of secretly. I didn't tell anybody, didn't even tell my husband till I hit 10,000 followers. And it kind of blew up overnight. Not overnight. It took like a month to build it to like 10 to 11,000 followers. And that was kind of like the start of everything for me. I wasn't on any other platform at the time. Like TikTok was where I was at. Like I was very in the community. And I loved it. And it was so cool. And I launched my digital product in August, and I had a $10,000 month with digital products. And at that point I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever to be able to build a community around people that love and want to do what you do, but also like being able to grow your income without having like a massive team or, just so many things that like I never wanted to have like this huge empire. But like, I want to make a lot of money and enjoy my life with my family and help people when I want to. And like digital products allow you to do that. So it kind of all spiraled from that. I learned everything that I teach about digital products with my own products. And so it's like all things that I've learned on the go. But yeah, it has been a whirlwind. My husband now doesn't work. I retired him from his 9 to 5. He's home with us, like digital products and UGC. I still do UGC, just changed my life. So sounds cliche, but it's wild. I never would have been able to be where I'm at now if it wasn't for digital products. So
such a cool journey, and a lot of things in there I want to unpack. I guess starting on like the earlier side. First off, completely resonate with was kind of doing UGC, but it was called something different, and then this term just kind of blew up. We were doing something similar where I was just more of like a TikTok agency. And then I don't know, this like UGC terminology just caught on like wildfire. And I was like, oh, wait, this is actually what we do. Like we help content creators and brands work together, not like influencer stuff, but UGC. And so that terminology really caught on. And so you were doing UGC, you said, for about 6 years. You get on TikTok, and then where was the like inspiration to launch your first product, right? Like, how did that come about? What was that first product? You said you had like a $10,000 month. Can you walk us through kind of the specifics of that? Hey, real quick, if you are a UGC creator, right now we have 16 brands that are looking for UGC creators. So here's how this works. Every time a brand comes to us and they say, hey, Mike, we need UGC content creators to work with, what we do is we send an email out to our entire network of content creators, and then they can go in and apply to work with those brands. So if you want to be added to our network, you want to get an email every time we have a new brand to work with, there's going to be a link below somewhere to go sign up. It's completely free, or you can go to brandsmeetcreators.com.
Yep. So I actually knew when I started my TikTok, like I knew I wanted to sell a digital product. So I went into it kind of with an advantage of my brain kind of knowing like, okay, I need to create content that's going to inspire people to want to do this. And I'm very, with my marketing, I love to just be more storytelling and inspirational instead of like, there's a timer. And if you don't get it, you're never going to be able to buy, like, I don't like the pressure type of marketing. So going into it, I knew I wanted to sell a digital product. And now there are tons of digital products around UGC, right? Like it's very popular. But at the time, there was not hardly any. And there were like two courses out there from people that were not good at marketing. And they were like $400 or $500. So I said, okay, I need to create something for all the people that maybe don't even know if they want to do UGC, but like they want to learn more. So for that first month, I kind of just listened to what people were asking for. And like my most asked question was, what is UGC and how can I get started? So I created a freebie that was a UGC toolkit, and it talked about all the things that I use as a UGC creator, right? So it talked about Canva, and it talked about using my Stand Store to invoice and just things like that. And then I did a UGC starter kit, and I launched it at 35, and then it went up to 37, and now it's 47. So a very low ticket product to hit that $10,000 month, which was mind blowing to me. So yeah, that's what I got started. That was my first ever product for my digital product.
And so I have two questions on this. So when you're first starting out, you were mainly really focused on TikTok, right? So the TikTok was kind of like
Oh yeah,
the
that's
the
it.
big TikTok was the main platform at first, right?
Yeah, I wasn't on. I mean, I had an Instagram that was talking about reels that convert. So I was mainly speaking to like business owners learning how to kind of create their own UGC in a way. But TikTok was where it was all at. Like I was all in on TikTok. I hardly opened my Instagram app at the time. I was very like submersed into the TikTok community.
Gotcha. And so when you first launched that product, was there any like reasoning behind the $35, or it was kind of like, hey, this is my first one. Like this seems like a good number. I want it to be affordable. Yeah. What was the
Yeah.
thinking
So
on the price point?
there's a book called $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozy, and he goes really, it's like my favorite book ever. I tell everybody to read it.
It's
He
amazing.
goes a
Yeah.
lot into like offers that people can't say no to. So I knew going in that I wanted a more affordable price for the launch to encourage people to buy during the launch, right? So I made it 35 and then told them all that it would go up to 47 and it would never be that price again. So for me, it was kind of like a no brainer option. And now I end all my pricing in sevens. It kind of has to do with the psychology behind like 9.99, right? Like when you buy something that's 9.99, your brain is like, oh, cool, it's $9. It's $10. Like it's not $9. And when you buy something that's $47, your brain thinks, oh, it's $40. It's $50, guys. Like $47 is $50. So I really focused on that and then creating a no-brainer pricing. So I really wanted people to like instantly feel like they could buy it, because I think also, high ticket, like $2,000, $3,000 courses, not to say they're not amazing, some of them, but a lot of people have been burned by that in the past few years. So I wanted to create something that was like lower barrier entry for people, not super expensive, but it's like very extensive. It's now over 90 pages. Like It's like an encyclopedia, honestly, for UGC creators or people wanting to get started. And it goes through so much, but I wanted it to be affordable. So that's also why I chose to go the PDF route. So it's like an ebook, and not the online course route, because A, I didn't have time to record an online course with a toddler. And B, I wanted something that like was digestible and I could keep it affordable. So that's why I went the route. And all my products usually end in sevens now.
So you launch the initial digital product, it takes off, you hit your first $10,000 month. And then I'm assuming you start to continue to launch new ones, or maybe you just focus on this one for a while. What was like the evolution after, okay, the first launch to kind of where you are now?
Yeah, so I launched my UGC starter kit in August. It did great. September was a little bit of a slower. I think it was like 9,000. I made 8 or 9,000 because I had COVID for 3 weeks and it was, a hot mess. And then October, I think, was around the same, but I hadn't launched a new product yet. And then in November, I launched a digital product starter kit. So, pretty much teaching people how to do what it is that I do. And also in November is when my TikTok got banned. I was at like 94,000 followers, and there was some troll going after a lot of us creators, actually. And the way TikTok works, it's so stupid. They like take your account down before seeing if you've broken any of the violations, which is lovely. So I didn't have my TikTok for a month. It was horrible, but I'd had an email list full of people. So I focused on email selling that month instead and still made, over 10,000 that month, I believe, selling digital products without my TikTok. I actually ended up starting a new TikTok and I have now grown that one to like 95, I think 96,000 followers now. And I don't use the old one because I got it back, but it was dead. Like there was nothing left. Which was a bummer. So I really focused on selling that one for a while before jumping into the next one. Cause I think a lot of the time people launch something, they have like an incredible launch week or month, and then they're like, okay, no one's going to buy it. I need to move on. And it's like, no, you just have different buyer types, right? Like there are some people that find your page, binge your content, and buy everything you have like within 10 minutes. There are other people that like take a few months, that they need to be seeing the product and hearing about it. So I really wanted to kind of prove my point that yes, when you start adding more to your product suite of digital products, you'll make more money, but like, don't give up on the first one so quickly. Like you need to sell that to people, give people time to like get results from it. And then in November, I launched my digital product starter kit, and December was actually a 26K month for me. And I was like, mind blown. Like, how am I ever going to be able to top this? And now I've like 6 times that some months. So it's pretty freaking wild, like the evolution. And like, as you grow your audience, like you're also growing your income with digital products. So it's pretty wild.
So, all right, I love this kind of like this storyline that we're going on here. So, towards the
Yep.
end of last year, you launch your, the digital product starter kit. Now you're seeing, 20 plus $1,000 months. And then somewhere from that point to now, it looks like you made a very big transition to being an Instagram first creator. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think just from watching all your content, that's where you're really focused right now. That's where like the
Yep.
majority of the sales are coming from. Can you talk me through what that transition looked like,
Yep.
why you made that transition, and like how that's been going for you?
Yeah. So after all that happened on TikTok, I knew I needed to diversify and kind of build my main audience on a platform that wasn't as unstable as TikTok can be. I love TikTok. It's where I got my start. I just wish the app was a little bit more stable. And like it's happened to a lot of people. There are literally some brands that have like millions of followers and it gets shut down overnight and there's like no reasoning. So in January, I said, okay, I'm going to kind of give TikTok a little bit of a break. It's also harder to sell on TikTok because you have to be very like, you have to like inspire people to want to click the link in your bio. If you say, I have a product, go buy it, nobody wants that on TikTok. It's very hard. And I'd seen on Instagram so many people, like you can advertently ask for the sale on Instagram. So in January, I kind of decided, okay, I'm going to give Instagram my all. Someone also made a comment. I taught a TikTok masterclass, and someone was like, oh, well, you're good at TikTok, so you couldn't be good at Instagram. No creators are good at both. And I was like, oh, that's not true. But then when I looked, like it kind of was. There's so many people that have like 500,000 followers on TikTok and 12 on Instagram. And I'm like, okay, so there's a little bit of truth behind this. So I kind of had to like prove this person wrong. So I started on Instagram in January, and my TikTok has definitely taken a back seat just because it's kind of hard to stay up on two apps, honestly. And I feel like TikTok has kind of, the app itself has kind of taken a transition that I'm not loving. Like it's kind of turns more to like all those CapCut things. What are the templates? And I just don't like that. Like I love to create. And I love the creation side of things. So seeing TikTok kind of take that turn just made me feel really uninspired on the app. And so I got on Instagram in January. I had around 3,600 followers in January, and now I hit 52,000 this month. And it's just been wild. The community is so much better on Instagram too. It's definitely more of like a nurture platform. You can DM people, you can send voice messages, which I know you can now on TikTok, but it's just not the same. So really focusing on like building a community and growing more there. It just feels more sustainable too. I feel like TikTok is like constantly, you just have to stay up on so much where as Instagram, honestly, it doesn't change as quickly, in my opinion. So I have loved it. I have just grown my business exponentially since making the shift because I can just ask for the sale on things, right? I can nurture people, connect with them, and then say, hey, if you want more, comment this keyword and I'll send you the link. And like, it works. Like my average sales right now are $2,000 a day. And that's like, some days it's way more than that, but that is like the consistent average. And that's, I'd say 95% is from Instagram now.
Wow, that is huge. Like to just make such a
Wild.
big transition, and to do it in like such a short amount of time, right? Saying you had 2 or 3 thousand followers back in January to where you are now. I want to
I'm not
dive.
competitive at all.
I want to dive. I want to dive into this Instagram strategy a little bit more,
Yeah.
because it seems like you have it completely dialed in. And so kind of I guess the three elements that I want to dive into. You said like Instagram, it's way easier to sell, right? Way easier to sell than on TikTok. And from, what I uh, was able to kind of just see from your account, it looks like some of the things that you're doing is like you're very active on your stories, right? You're posting a lot of different stories, a lot of results from students. You have some links in there every once in a while. On your Instagram Reels, you're posting Reels, maybe one a day, maybe a couple a week. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but you do a lot of like comment this word, and I will send you the link. I'm guessing you have like the many chat set up. But I was
Yep.
wondering if you would do like a little like high level overview of the Instagram strategy and like what's really killing it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now I focus mainly on reels and stories, right? There's so many other things you can use with Instagram, but for me, I needed something that I could sustain easily and like showing up on stories. Like this is my job. I do it every single day and people are like, "Isn't that overwhelming?" I'm like, "This is not a side hustle. This is not like this is my main job. I am the sole breadwinner in our family now." Like I make time. So stories are really where I um, take people through my life through the lens of my business, right? So anything I'm sharing, I'm thinking kind of, I'm like reverse engineering, like, okay, how can this somewhat relate to the outcome that they will get from my digital product, right? So like my stories are very strategic. You will hardly ever see me posting anything random. Like if I share something about my family, it's like one slide. It's not, 87. I see a lot of people who are like, I want to make money on Instagram. And I'm like, you posted 700 pictures of 4th of July with no context and nobody knows what's happening. Like, that's not exciting. So for me, I focus on stories. I really like to connect with people in stories. And then reels are what I use to reach more people. So, in my opinion, reels are still the best way on Instagram to get yourself out there. And with my reels, you guys will notice that they're not super deep on the actual reel. And then the caption, I go way more into storytelling and a little bit deeper there. Because when people click on that button to read your caption, they're watching your reel over and over again while they read that. And also, I feel like right now, people, we're like squirrels on Instagram. Like it's so easy to see something, and if it's too quick, like you just scroll past it. So making your reels very simple, very digestible. Like if a seventh grader can't understand the hook on your reel, it's too deep. Like you have to dumb it down for people. So that's been my main focus is stories, and then reels. And I'm in my DMs every day. Like I set aside around an hour a day to connect with people. And I also have like a keyword automation. It's called ManyChat. Like Mike said, that when people comment like a keyword asking for a link, that's all automated. So I'm not, spending hours commenting back to 300 people. Instead, I can actually talk to people in my DMs. Like most of my students, if they share with me, some of them are a little bit more private and they don't share results or they don't share much with me. But like if you told me one of my students' names, and there's someone that talks to me in my DMs, like I know what they sell, I know how their launch went, like I'm in it, and by having like the automation set up in my captions, that allows me to have that time to be in my DMs because before I was literally manually doing everything, which was insane, and it takes so much time to manually respond to comments. So that's been a huge game changer for me. That's actually I started using ManyChat in I think January or February. And that's when I had like the 90K, 80K months, is because it's automatically sending things to people. And then I can really connect with people in DMs instead of spending all this time in my comments for people who are literally just asking for a link. Like they're not asking to talk, they're not sending me like a meaningful text. They're literally saying, hey, I'm interested, send me this link. So stories and reels are where it's at.
Do you think that more of your sales come from that like auto DM the link feature, or from your like posting links in your story, or people just going directly to the link in the bio?
I think it's both. So right now, I think it used to be like 7 to 12 times someone needed to see something before they were ready to buy it. And I think it's upwards of 20 now, honestly.
Yeah.
So my reels, I think, get people, I do make direct sales from those all the time. But like in my head, this is how it goes, right? Like they get the automation and the keyword. And then I'm very careful to make sure when I do a reel that day, my stories back that up. So if I do a reel that says comment the word growth to join my IG growth for sales live training, my stories that day also have testimonials from people who have already gone through it and seen results. And I talk about that and I kind of invite them to make the sale at the end of those stories. So I'm already getting like a few views of that product in there for them. So I always try and make sure like they complement each other on the day that I'm posting. Now, obviously, like there are days I post a reel, and it's not anything to do with what I had the day before. So then I'll just make sure my stories talk about that product that day. But I think it's more so like the omnipresence of that link, so that if they see it in the stories, they're like, oh, she sent me that link last week in my stories. I can buy that later today or something like that. I make it so easy for people to buy. Like, it's so easy to buy my digital products. It's one click and they are on the sales page and the checkout page at the exact same time. Like it's not hard. I've seen so many people do things where like they have PayPal or Send Owl set up and it literally takes like 8 clicks to buy it. I'm like, I'm out. I'm checked out at that point. That's way too many clicks. Like make it easy for people to buy from you.
Where do you do all of your like Instagram either scheduling or like building the stories? Do you do it just right in the app on the phone? Do you have like desktop version? Are you using Canva? What does
Nope,
that look
it's
like?
all in app. I am definitely someone that like I'm very creative. I love things aesthetically pleasing, and for me, using Canva meant that I wasted so much time because I was so like, oh, it has to be perfect. Like I even stopped doing carousels for that reason because I was so neurotic about making them look perfect. And just making everything beautiful. Like I used to be like the Instagram girly that had like seasonal feeds, like very pretty. Like I loved it. I love being creative. So for me, I had to like let go of that in order to make it efficient. And I chose things within Instagram. So I use the same 2 fonts within Instagram. I use the same like 3 colors from Instagram, and they go with my brand colors. They're not my brand colors exactly. But again, like pasting in my brand colors to have it on my stories every day, I don't have time for that. So I really simplified it and kind of like let my personality be more of the brand rather than like my aesthetics. And it's done really well for me because I think people get held up on all that. So I create everything within the app unless it's a repurposed TikTok. So my talking head TikToks, I create those with the intention to then post them on Instagram. So I'm like careful with my wording to make sure like it applies to both platforms. But it's way easier to edit talking head videos in TikTok than it is in Instagram. Instagram has like a split second delay and it always cuts off my first word. So I can't do it. But other than that, I do everything in app. I don't schedule just because I've found that they glitch sometimes. And again, it's my full time job. Like I have time to post a reel without having to schedule it. So I do it all in app. Yeah.
So even though you don't schedule, do you ever like plan ahead the stories that you're going to make, or like, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking for the week, or maybe you take a look at it from like a just a daily perspective or monthly? What is that like the strategy planning around everything look like?
Yeah, so I always know kind of in the back of my head what I need to be selling. And that's what I plan my content around. So, stories are a daily inspiration thing. I am an off the cuff creator, so I play into that. I think for a long time, everyone was like told, you have to batch, you have to do all this. And like, I tried it and I was like, I hate this. I hated batch days. And then my content reflected that. So, I'm like, might as well, I'd rather post less content and have it be really good content that reflects how I'm feeling in that moment. And also I'm very like I story tell in all my content, so like it makes sense for me to share things on the day it's happening or the day after, because like that is what I've done in my personal brand. So like if I'm talking about like things that happened in June, um, I couldn't have scheduled that or like filmed it in May, right? Like I didn't know it was going to happen. So I always know like the end game of what I want to be selling. So like right now I'm gearing up to launch my digital product boot camp. So I'm starting to do some content around getting people on the wait list and like kind of trickling that in for people. So I know what I need to sell and that's how I create my content and kind of my schedule for the week. But I'm a very, like creative side of the brain when it comes to content, and definitely let like my inspiration do the work for me, because like you can tell when my content is dead inside. And I never want that. So
One thing that you do really well that I think is quite different from a lot of creators who are more of like the like educational kind of like teaching type of creators. Scrolling through your Instagram, like there's not too many like, oh, here's like a crazy tutorial of how to like set up your stand store or this. It's all very much so inspiration side of things, showing like some client results, and then like a little bit of the storytelling. Like you don't do too much of like, here are the 4 steps on like to get your first digital product going. I'm curious if you could like dive into that topic a little bit, because I think that's kind of rare, but it seems to just be absolutely working.
yep. So I don't do educational content. It is not something that I think benefits people. In my opinion, educational content gets people to save your reel and never apply it. And I'm like, that's not what I want. I don't want people to find this cool tutorial and never do it. But if they put a little bit of money behind something, you bet your bottom dollar they're going to apply it and learn it. And like half the time, the educational content people are putting out, like, people aren't ready for that. If I started talking about, upsells and funnels and all that stuff, like people would be so overwhelmed. They would have no idea what I'm talking about. So I save all of that content for my paid resources. And not because I want to gatekeep, but because people aren't ready for it. They're just not. And again, like educational content has become what every person, they're like, add value, give them education. And I'm like, they're not applying it. Like it's literally, and you just sound like everybody else in the world. But guess what? Like nobody has my story and nobody has your story. And so by using storytelling and really like focusing your marketing on your story and your students' stories, or whatever it is that you teach, like that differentiates you already. And like I never do educational. I have one reel that's like how to add like the black overlay to your reel, because I get 8 million questions a day asking for it. So I did create that one, but that's like the only one I can think of that's true educational content. People just aren't ready for it. And it doesn't encourage them to purchase or move on, right? Like my job is to sell my digital products. That is my business. That is what I do. And when you create educational content, it just attracts the wrong people. It often also attracts people that are entitled and don't want to ever pay for your time and think that you should give everything away for free. And I think 100% there's a time and a place for free stuff. And I literally, people know if they're in my DMs, I am so open. I send voice messages, I respond to people who are having tech issues. Like, I am very open with how I help people, but my content does not do that. And I'm very intentional with that.
That is super interesting because I think that's something that's pretty rare. You see a lot of people that are selling digital products, selling programs. It's very educational first, where I think yours, at least the feel I get, it's more inspirational. It's like inspiring someone to take that next step. And then you're right, all of the trainings, they're behind, a paywall where someone now is actually motivated to take action on those things, and they're actually going to get results as opposed to just consuming a step-by-step Instagram reel that maybe gets the like button gets hit, and then that's about it. Um, Another question I have for you is your team right now. Is it just you? Have you hired an assistant? Are you thinking about growing your team? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I have a VA. It's actually my little sister. She's wonderful. I love her. So I just brought her on. She just had a baby. So we like onboarded her before she had the baby. So now she's back and helping. My husband does my Pinterest. He wanted to. He's so smart and like has a really awesome brain. So when I retired him, he was like, "Hey, there's a few things like I want to do in your business." So I said, "Awesome, great." And then I've kind of discovered this the past, 6 months when I've made some investments that were not a good choice. I am definitely like a self led person that likes to hire out things that I don't want to learn how to do. So I have hired out some email stuff, not like the answering, but like helping me write emails. Like I have someone I work with now. I tell her what's happening that week. I tell her my story, like what's going on in my life that week. She writes my email for me. And it's just like outsourcing things that I don't want have like I don't have the brain power to do, but like investing in a coach to tell me what to do. Like I've never liked being told what to do. I like to learn the hard way. And I think like in as a coach and as someone in the industry, like I don't really identify with being a coach, but I mean I am. Like I help people all the time. But I never feel good when I like pay someone to like coach me through it. Like I want to learn the hard way. And then if something is too hard for me, I will hire an expert to do it for me. So right now I don't have, plans to hire like team members. I've always wanted to keep this like smaller and something that like can scale without having to have this giant team. So just a VA, my husband, and then I outsource certain things that I need. And it's just worked really well for me. I actually like listened to a podcast and someone talked about being a self-led leader. And I was like, oh my God, that's me. I hate being told what to do. I like being told, like, I'm just going to take this off your plate and do it for you when I don't understand it. But like, I don't appreciate when people come into my business and say, hey, you're doing this wrong. Like, I had someone at the beginning of the year, I paid $5,000 to be like in her space and in this coaching program. And like, I was the learning person. Like, I was the one in the group that was teaching everybody else. And I was so frustrated because I was like, I don't want to be teaching people. I paid to be in this room so that I could learn. And not that like I know everything. I know I don't know everything. And I know there's always room to grow. But I felt so frustrated that like I was the learning person for everybody else. And so after that, and she had told me the only way to hit $1 million in your business was if you had like a $10,000 offer. Like they told me to have that. And I was like, that's so not me. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have a $10,000 offer. I don't want to like have that level of support for big businesses. Like that's not my goal. I want to help people who are just regular people wanting to do this. And I'm on track to hit $1 million in sales this year without a $10,000 program. So I'm like, it made me realize that like I don't want to be coached on things within my business like that. I want to just hire experts to do things for me. So that's my plan with my team. I think keeping it small and me kind of like taking it the direction that I want to because I know what's best for my business. And then just hiring things out when I need the help for it. So
So
yeah.
you want to keep the team small. You're going to keep all
Yeah.
the price points low. You want to help people that are more on the side of just getting started.
Yeah.
Any other like kind of plans on the horizon, or like, hey, I'm thinking about this. This is probably the next step for me. Any other ideas, like what the next 6 months might look like?
Yeah. So the beginning of this year was all about saying yes to everything. And now I'm like, I want to say no. I want to say no to things. It's been a lot, especially for my daughter. She's almost 3. And like, I spoke at a few conferences this year, and like, it was all amazing. And I've loved every second of it. But I think after I launch my digital product bootcamp, that will be like my main signature offer. It is a little bit higher ticket. No, I mean, it's still under $500. So definitely not this $3,000 course or anything, but I really want to like make sure my systems are all set up. So that like I can show up, create the content, grow my community, and my business will just keep growing with me. Because that's why I did this, right? Like I started all this so I could work less. But I'm so passionate about it that I just like get really excited and like plan all these things and do all these launches. And now I kind of want to like coast for a little bit. I've also really dabbled in like selling multiple offers at a time. So like 1 week, one offer, 1 week, another. And now I really want to focus on like selling one offer all the time, and seeing how that does, and kind of testing that out a little bit, since it is a little bit of a higher ticket offer. So it'll launch at $297 and then go to $497 after the launch. So, like I could make 6 sales a day and hit my sales goal for the day. Whereas now with lower ticket, I have to hit 37 sales a day to hit that. And I do it. I'm good at what I do. And it works, but like just kind of testing different things out so that I can reach more people, help more people, but also work a little bit less and actually enjoy this life that we've created. I don't want to work my life away. And it's really hard for me because I am a workaholic in that like I love what I do. I love working. I love the numbers. It's just so much fun for me. And like literally waking up every day to people who are like, literally last week I could barely pay the groceries, and now we just made $400 selling a digital product. Like I could combust with happiness hearing that. So it's hard for me to slow down, but I really want to like slow down a little bit and just have the growth kind of stay steady, because I just keep setting higher monthly goals and like I keep blowing them out of the water and hitting them. But it also means that I'm like working a little bit more. So after I launch this product, my goal is to work 1 to 3 hours a day and still have 100K plus months. So that's my goal.
That's an amazing goal to have. For everyone that's listening, we're going to link up all of Abigail's stuff below. Go check out her products. I know after this, I'm buying the Instagram growth strategy. I'm going to send that to someone on my team that runs our Instagram account and say, hey, whatever she says to do in here, let's put this into action. So I'll link all that stuff below. And Abigail, any closing remarks for anyone who's watching this, who they're new to digital products, maybe they haven't launched something, any kind of closing remarks?
Yeah, I'd say just start. Even if it's not the thing you're going to sell for the rest of your life. That's what held me up for so long, is like, well, if I sell something, I want to be able to talk about it for the rest of my life, right? Because you do have to talk about it every day. But just knowing like you can pivot. I built my whole brand on UGC, and now I've pivoted into something different. You don't have to have it all figured out when you start. Literally, you guys could get started with a stand store and a Canva subscription. Like, it's not that hard to just start. And you'll learn things along the way. I think so many people get held up because they're like, I want to have everything figured out when I launched. I never would have launched had I had everything figured out before I launched. Like, you have to learn the hard way. You have to just start. And even if it's like something that you change down the line, like, you will have learned so much more from that experience than you would have just waited sitting around and buying more digital products and adding them to your arsenal of digital products that you're never going to use. Like, apply them, start, learn. Like, I have learned so much of what I know just by doing things. Yes, I've done programs. Yes, I've hired people to help me, but like, so much of what I teach and what I know is because I have trialed it. I have trialed and errored it, and I know it works. And that's where I'm teaching from. So you just got to start.
Amazing closing remarks. Abigail, thank you again for doing this. Everyone that's listening, go
Absolutely.
check out Abigail's stuff below. We'll leave everything linked in the comments. And that's it for today, guys.